Welcome to the Adoption Lounge. I'm Amanda.
And I am Katie. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Katie.
Happy summer.
We are finally having good weather in Chicago.
Yes. I ate outside on my deck the other day, and that was extremely exciting.
We went swimming the other day. That was fun.
Yes. Yes, we went swimming the other day. And I know all the kids are finally done with school in Chicago, so that's been really cool. Do you have anything fun planned?
I'm going to Florida next week.
I knew that.
It's my birthday tomorrow. That's really the main event.
That is the main event. Maybe we can all sing. I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. But yeah, so that'll be awesome. What am I doing? I'm going to Disneyland in a couple weeks with one of my other best friends, also one of Amanda's best friends. She's taking her son to Disneyland for graduation, and so she asked for my help with the other kids, and not that they're a lot of work, they're awesome. So I'm stoked to go.
I'm jealous.
And she's the best person ever to go to Disneyland with, because it's like going to Disneyland with a plaid. Like, she knows everything. I just follow around like a puppy and do what she says.
No, it's the absolute best.
Yeah, it's so fun. So what are we going to talk about today?
So we actually have a guest, Kelly, who is an adoptive parent coordinator. If you're a lounger and you watch our other podcast, you'll know that Kelly was on before, kind of talking about her story. This time she's on because we're going to talk about the wait. So different topics all around, families waiting.
You've already joined, you have your profile done, and now you're waiting to get chosen by an expectant mom. And I think this is one of those things that people don't realize how difficult it's going to be until they're actually going through it. And since we've been hearing, from some of our families that they would love some techniques or some ideas on how to manage that, Kelly thought it'd be a great idea to talk about, and we were in total agreement. So. Yeah.
And she has great advice. I mean, she gave some little tidbits of advice on how she got through her own wait, but everything, everybody's different emotions at different times. So It's so important to talk about. So I am so excited. So hi, Kelly.
Hey, girls. Hey.
We were just talking about how long it's been since we've gotten to see each other, but I'm happy to see your face today.
Yeah.
I know, and I'm happy to see y'all's faces and happy y'all had me on here to talk about the wait. It's crucial.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So start us off. What are some of the techniques you kind of recommend to families when they first get started? Is there anything that you kind of start out with advice-wise to get them prepared?
Yeah, what to expect too, because I think families just don't know what to expect.
Yeah, and I think too, so families will hear there can be a wait, and then they say, okay, there could be a wait, but it doesn't register, there could be a wait. Right. Or you can have families like me where, I talked about before, we were told there could be a wait, right? There more than likely will be a wait. But I was like, I'm fabulous. My family's fabulous. We're not waiting, but
That's
then
so funny. I always say there's two kinds of families. We have families that are either like,
I'm never going to be chosen.
I'm never going to be chosen. No one will ever choose me. And then we have families who are like, it's been a week. I'm confused because I'm so awesome. Like, why? And I respect both, but very different energy to enter the wait period with.
But I think it's important to find out what family you're talking about, because then you know how they're dealing with a situation or dealing with the wait. So, getting to know the families, you really have to ask them to take this self-assessment. Tell me why the wait is so hard for you, right? So for some of our families, it's because there was a wait before there was the wait, right? So if they were, trying to have a baby before by, whether it was natural conception, whether it was a surrogacy, whether it was adoption before, let's say it didn't happen, or if it was very slow to happen, and now they're with our agency, and then there's going to be another wait, right? So sometimes there's a wait before the wait.
That's so true. It's like the baggage you're carrying with you.
It is.
Not in a negative, I don't mean that in a negative way, but the stuff you're bringing with you into this process, because this is not the start of your journey.
Absolutely.
To grow your family, for a lot of families.
And I think when families are in that place, and I can speak for me, when we were in that place where there was a wait before the wait, you always feel like this is never going to happen. Why aren't I winning? It's my time to win. I'm tired. And honestly, for our families, it's draining mentally, physically, emotionally. However, and not to take anything away from that because it is, there's a way that you can deal with it. And I know that even when we talk about it today, it'll seem simple when I'm saying it. It's not. However, I think you have to be in a position where you got to reset and you got to re-energize and you got to really ask yourself why you're here. And
Hmm.
that's part of it. And so it's that self-assessment. So I always say, listen, I know the wait is hard, but why are you here? And, and they're like, what
Yeah.
do you mean, why am I here? And I'm like, because you want to what? Grow your family or you want to start your family. And, it's cliche, but the things that you want most in life sometimes may be the hardest. And
Yeah.
so I always say it hasn't happened, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And so your story is still being written. You are the ones that determine whether or not we still write the story or we just gonna sit by the sidelines. And so,
That's so true.
lifelong angel, we're not in control of that. You as an individual, as a person, as a parent, you are in control of allowing the story to continue. Now, you may not be in control of how the story goes, but you have the say so to say, I want this story to continue. And so I say to individuals, figure out why you're still here. Do you want to grow your family? Do you want to start your family? And, more
Yeah.
times than not, all of the times is, of course we do. And I say, okay, so buckle up, right? Like, buckle up.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to have to do. And unfortunately, but fortunately, we got to go through a way. And the reason I say unfortunately, but fortunately, like, you know what, honestly, if I could snap my fingers and have like expectant moms and birth moms and adopted parents and say, you get a kid, it was like Oprah, you get
Oprah.
a kid, I would do it all day long, but that would be us as human beings, right? Being in control of a process that we are not in
Hmm.
control of. And I say sometimes when we have our hands on the steering wheel, we mess up. We think we're not going to mess up, but sometimes we mess up. And so it becomes us trusting a process to let the process play out the way it needs to play out so we can get to the end, right? And a successful adoption is what you're looking at or what you want to look at the end. So that's why I say unfortunately, but fortunately, it's trust in a process. And I
Yeah.
can say this to you all. I also believe that the wait is much more than just this. Like when you're on this adoption journey and you're in this wait, I honestly feel like this is time being given to you to work on what you need to work on. And a lot of people don't want to
Oh,
hear
I like
that,
that. I never
right?
thought about it that way before.
Well, because you think about it, like, you start this journey, you want to grow your family or you want to start your family, and then there's a wait. And so what happens is families get very consumed. What are my numbers? Why haven't we been called? And don't get me wrong, I get all of it. I understand it because you want to know where you are in the process. But the other thing is, I always say, okay, so now what could you be doing? Is there something you need to be working on? For me, I'll be totally transparent in saying it was trusting. There was a wait before the wait for us. And so I've told my story before. I had 4 miscarriages and 3 failed rounds of IVF. I
Wow.
wasn't trusting anything or anybody, even though I said I was.
Hmm.
But because things had failed for me before, I was fearful of trusting the unknown and what I could not see. And so for me, and I think for a lot of other families, it's about really letting go of fear for one, control for another, and building trust so that you can get to this end result. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So
that's
I
so
think it
true.
is, if you take a self-assessment, you got to figure out, okay, well, within this time, what do I need to be working on? Because there's something that everybody can be working on.
No, and I love what you said. Sorry. I
No.
love what you said about like it hasn't happened yet because you know that every single adoptive parent going through the wait has probably said that to
Mhm.
themselves, to somebody else when
Yeah.
talking about their journey. But just adding that word of yet to
Yeah.
it changes the entire
Well,
perspective, the entire
exactly.
narrative.
And believing it's going to happen to you. But I really like what you said too, because you don't want to be lying to yourself. You don't want to be like, oh, no, we think, obviously, like we've seen the statistics and, we believe
Yeah.
it's, but like you have to truly, in your own headspace and your heart, believe this is going to happen for you. And then it almost gives you the freedom to still live your life during the wait period, and prepare yourself, I
Well,
guess.
yeah, because there's a lot of our families have not grown their family yet. So you're coming here, and I always say, have fun because these could be the last moments
Let me
that
tell
you
you,
have with just the two of you, right?
let me tell you. So you're so right. Like, you're thinking about this way. And I remember, let me tell you, it was our last trip before we got this call because we didn't know, what was going to happen. And we went to an island that I had always wanted to go to. And I was like, oh, we're just going to go. I had the time of my life. Let me just
Yeah.
be clear. We have not been to that island since. Now, I'm okay with that because of the reason why.
You have a baby now.
Right? But I do think you're totally right. Within this wait time, I tell people eat the food, take the trip,
Yeah.
drink the glass of wine, drink the soda, whatever it is, do it because you have the opportunity
Yeah.
to do it. The other thing with the wait is I want to make sure that families know sometimes you can be so consumed in what you do not have that you
Mhm.
miss what you already do have.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think
And
everybody does that too,
yes.
Oh
especially
my God.
especially when it comes to growing your family. Because I remember,
Comparison is the stealer of joy.
yes, and
Oh,
so
God.
true. And I remember how I felt even with Reese. It took us quite a while to get pregnant with Reese, and so the whole time it becomes hyper,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
You're hyper focused.
yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, everyone around you is getting pregnant.
Everybody.
And you're like, ah.
And I get it. I mean, I think it's natural. I totally get it. But I do believe in counting what you do have because so many families don't even have that, right? And again, not to compare, but there's so many things to be thankful for while you're waiting to grow or while you're waiting to start that family. And I also think, when you go back and you're talking about like this positive energy and putting positive and saying yet, it's about us. And this is, sometimes what I tell my families, it's about us changing our language too. So, when families talk to me and they say, well, if a mom reaches out and I said, what do you mean if, when, right? Like change it. It's not if, it's when. It hasn't happened yet, right? So when you change your thoughts and you change your language, then it becomes natural, it becomes second nature. And I feel like you will that into your life. You got to put the positive energy out there, even if it's hard. It's hard. And that's why
Yeah,
sometimes it sounds like it's so easy, but it's not. But again, nothing worth it is ever truly, truly easy, right? And so these
yeah,
are, just some of the things changing that thought process, resetting, re-energizing, and living life while this is going on and learning how to trust a process or
yeah.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Well, and even when people get
I'm
to
gonna
the
put it hasn't happened, and on the back it's gonna say yes.
I love
It's
it.
not. I'm branding it.
Well, when people ask to, has anyone ever gone through the program and not adopted? Like, is that going to happen? I always say only if they gave up on themselves,
Hmm.
Yeah.
because we're not going to give up on you. So, I mean, if you give
It's
up on
true.
yourself, that's the only real reason that you wouldn't be able to continue pursuing this. Because,
Unless something.
well, and parenthood, I don't
happened.
think is a right in this world. I don't think it's like a right that everybody gets. It's lovely and it's wonderful, but if that's something that you feel like you're meant to be a parent, it's something you want to pursue, don't give up.
Yeah.
Keep
It's
going,
definitely worth it.
make it happen for
Yeah.
yourself, and we're with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It's worth
think
the wait.
it's definitely worth the wait. I think too, like in our process, when we're looking and I have families say, well, we only have had this or we haven't had this. I mean, naturally, when people say to me, okay, is there anything else we can do? In some situations, there are some things that maybe we can look at, but again, it doesn't guarantee anything, right? But again, as an example, we have mothers, expectant moms, birth moms, who want to follow through with an adoption plan. And part of their adoption plan, for example, would include an open adoption, right? And
Mhm.
so then we have families in the background, let's just say, for instance, that are looking for closed and or semi-open,
Mhm.
right? So if open is not what you're looking for, that's okay. If it's not your cup of tea, it's cool. If you feel like you can't handle open and you just want semi open and closed, That's understandable. We will never be individuals that will press preferences your way
Yes.
because you need to be ready, you need to be able to equip, and you need to feel comfortable with what you have like in
So
front of you,
true.
right?
Yeah, you have to be a willing participant
You
in this
absolutely
choice.
do. But what I also tell families is so, like, if a lot of our moms, expectant moms or birth moms, are looking for open and you're looking for semi open and closed, it doesn't mean that it won't happen because we do have moms that want semi open and closed, fewer than open. It just means that your journey may take a little longer.
Sure.
And so, again, I think it's giving that information, but it's what the families are going to do with that after
Yeah.
it's
Well, and that there has to be some awareness that you are making a choice that does exclude some people, and that's okay
So
as long
align
as
your
you are
expectations.
aware of that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
that's what I always tell families when we give information, when you take that information and do with it what you feel is right. Because there is no right or wrong answer because it's what's right for you guys as an individual family or person.
Yeah.
But have that information and move forward aligning your expectations. Know that if there's an average placement time of 12 to 14 months and you have a gender preference or you have a post-placement preference, then it may take longer than that. And if you're okay with that, great. If you're
Yes.
not, you have to make some adjustments and really look within and figure out why you're not comfortable with something and then make the adjustment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say you should push yourself as far as you are willing to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. And to your point though, both of you all, it then still goes back on who? The family.
Yep.
It's what
Exactly.
you're looking for, right? And so, families will say, well, okay, preferences are done. Like, what else can I do? What else can I do? Two things I always say to people. So first of all, y'all know it takes 9 months for this whole pregnancy thing, right?
10 months, technically.
Well,
Ugh.
That's
you're
true.
right. Technically 10 months. So, you look at it like, I don't know if this is the best analogy, but it's the one that I use because
Just go for it at this point.
it resonates with me. So you have impulse shoppers and you have shoppers that think about things, right? So all day impulse right here, right? And so as an impulse shopper, when I go into the store and I see something, sometimes I
It's
don't
in the
even
bag.
go, what? Like cash register strong,
Yep.
right?
I'm like the reason marketing exists. If you show me one video of something working, I'm like, they're probably telling the truth.
Well, and so, hey, impulse, here we go. But then you have the other shopper who comes in, they look at the shoes and they say, I like these shoes, and they tuck it back here, and then they leave the store, and then they may come back next week or they may come back next month. They still want to see if the shoes are there because they like the shoes, but they're just not certain they want to move forward with this pair of shoes. It's the same thing.
That's
Yeah.
so true.
We gotta, like, as parents, adoptive parents, while we know what we want and we want it when we want it, there's another part of this, the expectant mom, the birth mother, that we can't do this without. And so we have to understand too that while we're on a journey, so are they.
Yeah.
And their journey will dictate what plays out for us, right? In a sense. And so if you really think about it that way, are you an impulse shopper? Are you a shopper that thinks about things? I think when families start to think about it, they could get less anxious because then they could understand, well, my numbers look pretty good. So, maybe some people just shopping around, right?
Yeah.
No, that's so true. Because
Yeah.
people are always like, oh, I've been presented 7 times. I've been rejected 7 times. And I'm like, well, there's just no hyperbole in adoption. There's no standard. Every single person is different. She might not be ready to
Mhm.
make a decision. And I
Yeah.
also wouldn't even think about it that way. I like to change the conversation about rejection too, because most of our expectant moms, they like everybody. They're not rejecting you. They just
Yeah.
feel specifically connected. One of those profiles they saw, they were like, that is something that relates to me in
I
my
want to,
life.
yeah.
Yeah, so this must be the right one because they don't know.
It doesn't mean that the
either.
other families weren't just as,
Yeah,
That's right.
great. It just means that there was, and usually it's something small that's not even specific, not something that any family could change. Like the one
yeah,
that chose them because of their favorite movie was the same.
yeah, or the same dog breed. I mean,
Yeah.
and that I think will help make the connection more successful too because you
Yeah.
have this commonality, this thread that makes her feel like this might be the right,
Yeah.
nod from the universe that you're the right family. So it's never about rejection for the other families.
No. And that word, so you're so right, because that word rejection, I don't like that word because it makes it sound like, families will
Someone's
say,
saying I don't want you.
yeah,
And
Mhm.
or
that's
some
not what they're
families will say,
saying.
nobody picked me. And I'm like, how do you know? And they said, because nobody called. I'm like, just because nobody called, no, just because nobody reached out doesn't mean that they don't like you or that they haven't selected you. 9 times out of 10, an expectant mom or birth mother is trying to work things out on their end.
Yep.
Has nothing to do with an adoptive family. And so, when you look at those things, like when we were talking about, what are things you can tell families and tips that kind of help them, again, when you figure out what's giving you that anxiety, because there's something behind the worry, right? And so I'm very honest, when we get the newsletters or the success stories, if they're coming into your email and you're looking at them and you find yourself making comparisons and saying, I was this person, how are they adopting 2 months? Oh my gosh, it took them 36 months. Oh my gosh, it took them 18 months. Then I said to myself, my husband looked at me and was like, yep, no more, we're deleting them. And I was like, oh, no, 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 you can't delete them. And he was like, want to bet? I can. And then we would, because when I really thought about it, it was giving me a little bit of anxiety. And even though I was
Mhm.
happy for everyone else who was adopting at that time, I couldn't stop comparing in my mind. And so,
So for some people, they see it makes them feel hopeful because
yeah,
adoptions are happening. It's a
yep,
positive thing. And for other people,
Well, and you could feel differently about them too throughout the process because there was times
yeah,
even
that's
with
true. It might
giving
evolve.
yeah, with like giving families knowing how many times you were presented to an expectant mom. There's times
mhm,
throughout where they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I love this. It makes me feel hopeful."
That's so true.
And then there's times where they're like, "I just can't see these numbers anymore." And then like a couple months will pass and they'll be like, "Okay, I'm ready to see the numbers
and the numbers,
again."
yeah,
But your emotions are going to change. It's a ride, it's a journey. So
it
it's
is.
not one emotion the whole time. So whatever you need in that moment, whatever in the moment makes it easier for you, do that and you can always switch it up
Yeah.
and
But you have to really think about it. I feel like for some people, they might not realize the source of adding to their anxiety. So that's such good advice.
yeah.
And I think it goes back to, you got to know yourself and you got to know why you feel the way you feel in this journey. A lot of the times I see families and I know exactly the reason why they feel the way they feel, but they've got to know it. And then I think then you can start to let go a little bit. And I found, as soon as you let go and you start living and you start doing and stop, as much as the worrying, I never think that the worry is completely gone, right? Or just
Right.
the thought of it, it's never completely gone. But to consume an individual, if it's consuming you, a month could feel like a lifetime.
Oh,
Yeah.
In the adoption world, we all know that a month is just nothing
it's
almost.
nothing.
It's no time. And so you don't want it to consume you. And so the other thing I say to individuals, my gosh, take this time to love on one another. If it's just an individual who's adopting, take this time to visit family, visit friends. If you don't have family, if you don't have friends, get to know yourself. Go,
Yeah.
Yep.
I was saying before, go do the things, go on the roller coaster, go to the zoo, go to the party, whatever it may be that you think you can't do. When you start to prove to yourself that you can do it, again, it becomes second nature. The
Yeah. It's
baby
like
is still there.
exercise.
It
Yep.
is. The baby is still there. You still want the baby, but it's almost like you're allowing the baby to come to you as opposed to you
Mhm.
forcing this process to work because daggone it, it's gonna work. There's a
Yeah.
difference. There's a
Well, yeah,
difference.
and so many families save and prep to be able to start their adoption journey. So I think it's just so important to remember that even though you have not had a successful placement yet, that there was a time in your life where you dreamed about being exactly where you are right now, which is
Yes.
starting your adoption
Yeah.
journey. And
Yeah.
so appreciate that and take the time
Yeah.
to live in that and then know that like you said that your baby's on the way to you and it'll all
Yeah.
make sense when you're holding your baby for the first time as you know because you've been there everything that you went through probably made sense if it had not made sense to you prior.
Well, and
And when
talking
I
about
tell
deleting
you,
the newsletter. Oh, I'm sorry, Kelly.
no, 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 go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, talking about deleting the newsletter made me think too, yes, absolutely spend time with people in your life.
Mhm.
But if they are giving you anxiety,
They
you might
gotta
have
go.
to have a conversation with them, right? Like you can still hang out with them, but sometimes it's nice to just be like, hey, listen, like I love all of you. You will be the first to know if I have an update, but it gives me massive anxiety every time you bring it up and ask me if I have an update. It makes me feel bad that I don't. So I
Yeah.
would prefer if everyone just kind of don't ask me about it, like
Mhm.
just as a
No, I
basic
love
rule,
that because
and
that
then
could
I
also
will tell
go.
you if I have something to tell you.
That could also be something that you would want to have a conversation about or think about prior to even
Right,
starting
like
your
take
journey and
control of
who
it.
you're going to tell, because there's people that I know that we've worked with that have adopted twice, and the first time, of course, naturally you're so excited, so they told everyone, right?
Everyone.
They even made like a Facebook post about it, like
Yeah.
we're adopting, but then the second time around they did not even tell anyone. They actually surprised their family when they were bringing their baby home, and they said it
Yeah.
was so much better. I mean, granted, they also were parents, so your focus is on that. You're not hyper focused just on the journey, but they said it was so much better for them personally to not tell anyone because nobody was asking them, so there was no added pressure. And
Yeah.
sometimes when people are like, is there an update? You almost feel like they said that they almost felt like, well, gosh, should I
Like
have an
I should
update?
have an
I should
update.
have an update.
Yeah.
I'm not being
And
successful
all
in
of these
this.
people asking you about this do not actually understand adoption for
Oh,
the most
no,
part.
they
So
love
you're getting
you.
questions from people that only
Yeah.
care, but they also feel like it's
They
like
want
when
you
you
to
give
know that they're
anyone, like when
invested.
you announce that you're getting married, right? And all of a sudden it's like it's the only thing anyone knows about you.
You
Everyone's
are
like,
just
have
the
you picked a
person
date
getting
yet?
married.
Where are you getting? Yeah, exactly, because it's such a big piece of information that it's
True.
now what you associate. So you're gonna
Same
get
thing with
questions.
adopting. Now you are just
Yeah.
the person that is adding to your
Yes.
family, and that is all
It's interesting.
every conversation is
So,
about.
like with families who are already waiting, you already told everybody. If that's giving you anxiety, maybe just have a conversation. Be
Yeah.
like, listen, it's not that I am depressed about it, but it bothers me to not have an update. So just know I will tell you if I
Yeah.
have something to tell you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, please don't bring it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And I
that's
think
great.
Anthony and I had a method. So what we did, if we had an update, we didn't tell many people at all because I didn't want people asking me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Katie, I'm not as nice as you sometimes. I'll be like, don't ask me again, right? But anyway,
We know you would.
I'm only nice because I'm a huge people pleaser and I can't handle if I think you're mad at me.
okay, not me,
I
but
don't care.
I'll tell you, I think my husband
Sounds
and I,
nice.
we we told
Enjoy.
my family that we did tell that if you get a because usually I call my family and if Anthony, wants to talk to my family, he gets on my phone, right? So I said to the family, I said, so if you get a call from Anthony's phone, then we have some news because I never
Oh, I
call my
love that.
Oh, that's a good idea.
so whenever I called from my phone, they didn't ask anything.
Don't ask. Yep. If Anthony calls you, ask.
Just thinking about little ways, and we laugh about it now. We laughed about it then, but you don't think that it's, you think you're strategizing and making a plan. But I will say to you, these are the things that within a family or a relationship or marriage or whatever it is, these are the little things also that keep you going because whether you know it or not, they bring smiles to your faces. You're thinking about things, you're laughing about people, you're laughing about
No.
yourself, even though you're figuring things out, but it goes back to you're still living. You're still living. And so, and again, it's just knowing, I think, where you are and that you are enough. You are enough.
Yeah.
I've said before, the way you start this process is not the way you are 3 months in, 4 months in, 10 months in, blah, blah, blah. You're not the same. You're not. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. Um, but when you come in, you've got this outlook, and 4 or 5 months, nothing has happened. And I'll again being transparent. You all know I said in the beginning, I was like, oh, we're gonna get picked up in a minute, and then months went by, and I was saying, what's wrong with these people? Like,
It ain't me.
but then
Can't ever imagine having that level of confidence. I'm just the
I love it.
opposite.
well, and I think too, but I think the
I
only
love that.
I had to have, and some of it was faking it, because a lot of this is fake it till you make it, right? In all honesty, but I think for me, I had to build myself up because I had suffered so much disappointment and trauma before getting here. So I had to do and say anything, with Anthony and myself to get
Almost
it
like a
out there.
protective measure to be
Yeah.
so
Oh,
positive.
definitely, definitely. But within like 8 months, before when I was saying, oh, what's wrong with these people? I was then saying, like, what's wrong with me? Like, what's wrong with my husband? And that's why I say, and we had to quickly turn that around because you are enough. You all spoke about it before. Expectant moms and birth moms choose families based off of hair color. Like you have no idea why they're choosing individuals. We're, putting up these beautiful pictures. And then when we asked our birth mom, what was it about us that drew, you to us? And she said it was date night. And I remember looking at Anthony, I was like, oh, she didn't even think, look, my beautiful pictures, like that wasn't it, type deal.
No, like 40 years ago when my
No,
parents adopted, same story. Like my birth mom, it was something my mom and dad had said in their letter to her. It was just
yeah,
a quick line. They said most of the families they had read had said, we can't wait, we just feel like something's missing, and which is such a normal thing to say. I hear it all the time, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But my mom just didn't say that. She was just kind of like, yeah, we'd also really like to be parents, but we're really happy. And she just really, that spoke to my birth mom.
yeah.
And that's why she chose them. My sister's birth mom wanted a family with no kids. They ended up choosing my mom and dad who already had me. I mean, it's always been the same way. And honestly, I think if I were an expectant mom trying to choose an adoptive family, I'd be the same way because it's such a huge decision. You want to feel like there's some cosmic oversight.
Something,
Yeah.
Some kind of connection. So
Yeah, like head pats, you're going in the right direction.
well, and the thing is, and because you never know what individuals are looking for or what they're basing it on, that's why I always tell my families to be yourself.
Just be
Because
yourself.
what you think is quirky that somebody else may not like, that could be the one thing that somebody loves. And so
Exactly. Don't overthink your answers. Don't try to be what you
don't
think they're
overthink
looking
it.
for. Just be
Mhm.
authentic, be accessible.
And the thing is, you're not meant to be with every family. Like that is
yeah,
the honest truth. And so it's not necessarily for you to come, for you to be liked and or attracted, or every birth mom be attracted to you because that's
mhm,
not a connection that is supposed to be made. And so
yeah,
Mhm.
it doesn't mean that you aren't worthy of it, but this just is not your person. And so the other thing too is the confidence within the weight. And I do know that that confidence can sometimes decrease or just,
oh sure,
you're not where you need to be, but I always say whatever you have to do to get back to self, right? Just to know that I am worthy. It has not happened yet, but I'm still fabulous. It has not happened yet, but I'm still going to have it. It
Yeah.
hasn't happened
yeah,
yet, but I
Starting
know
out in the
I'm
best
to be a mom.
headspace ever, and it can still wane and change, and you have to
of
be on
course.
top
Yeah,
of
Well,
that
we're
with yourself.
human.
Yeah.
We're human,
yeah,
and
we are.
so emotions ebb and flow. You're never just one emotion all the
Yeah.
time.
No, never. But
Especially not me.
in the families, again, I think if they really take time to first acknowledge there could be a wait, and then to acknowledge so they know what they feel. And I think if they don't know what they feel, you got to figure out what you feel and why you feel it.
Yeah.
Then to also know that other piece of the puzzle. This is not, we're not giving away candy, right? This is a huge decision for a birth mom. And so anything that huge may take time.
Time.
And you want, and if that time is going to then generate success or happiness or joy or whatever it is, if I told you right now, and I say to my parents all the time, if I told you right now that you are not going to adopt in 8 months, but it's going to be 18 and a half months, how would you feel? And they say, oh, well, if it's 18 and a half months, then I know how to deal with it. Yeah, because that's a control thing, right?
Exactly.
And
There's a
so,
due date. There's an end date to this that you can see and hear and
absolutely,
know.
absolutely. And so when you identify, oh, that's what it is for me, then you know how to then not handle it. It's not an issue, but it is something that's causing anxiety. And so
It's just
now you know,
mentally, it's much
yeah,
easier if you know
absolutely,
where the finish line is.
Well, you
absolutely.
just want to know that there is a finish line. They want to know that it's going to happen for them.
Yeah,
And the thing is there's a baby out there that's meant for everybody. They just have to want it enough to
to when
wait
you
as long as it takes, and it doesn't always happen on our timeline. But it
mm-mm.
doesn't mean that it's not going to happen just because you don't know when.
Yeah. And again, you think about it happening on our timeline, like the timeline that we feel is best. Since when do we know? We don't know anything. And we think we know, but we don't. In actuality, when I look back at our journey, even through the disruptions, and I've said this to you all before, where I am right now is probably the best place I could be. And I don't even know that I thought that it would be this good, right? But when I look at my son, I absolutely know why there was a wait. I
Yeah.
absolutely know why there were disruptions. And when I say to you, I know it's crystal clear.
Yeah.
And I think when I speak to my families, I speak from that place, right? So, because I think to your point, it's natural for everybody to wonder and want, and we're here and we're there. But to have experienced it and be able to understand and be crystal clear about why something didn't work out, why it took us 17 and a half months plus a 3-month hold, right? Why,
Mhm.
even down to, and I will say this to you all just to share, even down to why I had miscarriages before coming to an adoption agency. My mom passed away before we came to an adoption agency. I had
Mhm.
4 miscarriages and she saw me through 4. She saw me through 4. I even say to this day now that when my mom left here, and I am not the only child, but I am the favorite.
Of course you
I mean,
are.
obviously.
I'm the favorite too.
Me too.
But I do
Oldest daughter.
Sorry, Alan. Sorry, Laura.
when my mom
Not my fault.
left here, I strongly feel as though, because she got to experience all of her other grandchildren, I strongly believe that my mom loved me so much, and my family too, but loved me so much that I strongly feel like she needed a piece of me in heaven. My mom
Your
is
mom's
sitting.
probably just like, I'm just gonna go pick one out.
Well, I'm
It's
telling you,
fine.
I'll tell you, I think she has all 4 of my babies right now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So when you think about why something is, it's always a reason why. It's always a reason why. And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it's not going to be painful or disappointing, because I think that's a part of life. But I think that when you hang on and you continue and you know that you're enough, or hey, talk it until you know it. You don't have to believe it, but continue to say it, then the result at the end will more than likely be joyful. But you got to keep going. You got to hang
Yeah.
on. You got to keep going.
It's
Yeah.
just that's so 100% true. And I feel the exact same way about my adoptive family. I
Mhm.
feel that way about having a son with special needs, not a
Mhm.
journey I would have chosen for myself, but I would have been so incredibly wrong. And it is so funny because it's the most annoying advice when you're going through it
Of
and you haven't
course.
experienced. So I always tell my families that too. I'm like, in retrospect, like it'll be real annoying right now to hear that. But in retrospect, you are going to be one of those people that's like, just so you know, everything happens for a reason. You'll be
Yeah.
in the right place at the right
It's
time. So the
just so
right,
true. And
no,
I
it's not helpful, but like at the same time, that doesn't make it less true.
Well, I've even had families say that they would go through as much as there was some heartache in their journeys, which isn't the journey for everybody. There's some people that go through this process and don't ever really experience true heartbreak. It may be a longer wait, but there's not like disruptions
Yeah.
but I've had families say I would go through all of that all over again if it
Mhm.
meant I got to be my son's mom or my daughter's mom.
Totally.
And I think that
I'm
that's
with
the
you.
really important thing to remember too
Yeah.
is that sometimes in life we go through things, but it's leading us to where we're supposed to be. So you just have
Yeah.
to kind of accept.
At the end of this, there is some little person that is waiting for you. They just might not be ready
Yes.
yet.
They may not
We
have been
haven't
born
met them
yet.
yet. They haven't
They're
been
not even
conceived
born
yet.
yet.
I don't know, but there is a little person who is counting on you not to give up on yourself.
Yeah. And to your point, that's why we say to get through things, you can go through it, because going through it means you're continuing to move. You're
Yeah.
not
Yes, it's
staying
all
there.
forward motion, even though it doesn't feel like it.
Forward
Absolutely.
always.
Absolutely. So I think, with the journey and with the waiting, it's a part of the process. And some people's waits are less than others. But if you keep the mindset that you know who you are, you can do this, remind yourself of why you're here, figure out what's causing you the anxiety, and if it's something that you can change, change, and the things that you cannot change, learn to trust and accept where you are and that you were going through it. So there's an out to it. You entered, there's the middle, and then there's on the other side of it. And so,
Yeah. There's
you know,
two sides to this. We just don't know. We
yeah,
don't have a map for you to follow. You're going to stay down this path. I don't know if it's going to go uphill, downhill, barriers. I don't know. But there is another side to this.
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. So and I will say to you all, I think it's the thing that if anything keeps me up at night, it would be I know my families. I know there are families that are just like, when? Because we've
Yeah.
all been there. When, whether it's a baby, whether it's something else. When? And I just say you have to stay in it and to keep you motivated and encouraged that it can happen. It can happen.
Mm-hmm.
It can happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
really think that this is going to be so helpful for people.
Yeah.
And
I hope
I mean, even people that aren't currently in adoption, if you're thinking about it, I think that there's a lot of tools in this that we've talked about that will help you just prepare
Yeah.
yourself emotionally for what's to come. And you don't know what your journey will look like, but
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kelly. Like, this has been really great, I think.
yeah.
I hope so. And
Thank you.
just to leave you all with, I always tell people you may be delayed, but never denied.
I
And there's a
love that.
difference.
That's
Maybe
another t-shirt moment.
go ahead, Amanda. Go get the t-shirts and do
Get some
Merch.
merch.
Let me
Hashtag
get one.
loungers on it.
Let me
I'll
get
send
one.
you one or three.
Thank you.
Man.
Kelly's gonna be real surprised when you open up a random box and it's t-shirts. You're gonna be like, Amanda came through.
And I'm gonna love it.
Tag us.
I'm gonna love it.
But thank
Thank
you so
y'all.
much, Kelly, for carving time out away from what you got going on and talking with
Your
us.
job with us.
Yeah. Your job. Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. Good.
Well, we talked about it and I was like, we're gonna do it tomorrow. Kelly's like, oh, I'm just, busy, but okay.
Idea, and we're like, great. How's tomorrow?
Yeah, how's in 12 hours?
No problem. Y'all anything. I love it.
Aw,
Well,
we
thank
love you.
Yes, we love you. Thank you so much, Kelly, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good one.
All right, bye.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was so great.
I feel so good about that.
All right.
Well, until next time.
Until next time.